It looks like we're live. Hopefully people can hear me. Good evening. It is I, John, the old geek, your host for this evening. I am here with Dark Knight of Hibernia. Hello, DK.
Hello.
DK. And if anybody would like to join us, then I do have a Discord channel that I haven't put the link in this one. I've forgotten to put it in this one, but it is in the past live streams. If you go in there, there is a link to come in and join us. So if you have something to say, by all means, you are welcome to come and say it and entertain us. Tonight, first I want to say hello to Munchy Getcho. You're new. Welcome. And it's nice to see that I have got you to get your old modules out of storage. Yes, that makes me feel good. Makes me feel good because old modules are there to be read. They're there to be enjoyed. They're there to be stared at. All that lovely old artwork. All right. We do appear to have 8 people in attendance. I don't know if Doof is watching. He has certainly commented. But he commented hours ago. And here's Halakar as well. Good evening, Halakar. You're a regular.
Hello.
Okay, so tonight's topic, though we will obviously wander off track at various points, as is our way. But I'm going to talk about things that I believe make a good RPG player. We have Doof in the lobby. I think Doof wants to come in.
Oh, sweet.
Let's let Doof in.
Doofy baby.
Hello,
woohoo! Hello, yeah, Robbie.
Doof,
hey, buddy.
Here's Doof.
Mic
Hello,
check,
Doof.
mic check. Can you guys
Mic
hear me?
Oh, Doof, he lives. You haven't been in my games lately, sir. You haven't been in my games. I am hurt.
Nah, I'm running my own
offended.
games.
How dare you?
I'm gonna say
My
hello
games are
to
more
Rick.
important.
Hello to Rodrigo Beowulf. Shut up, DK, for a moment. Behave yourself. I'd love to speak. Right. Okay. What makes a good RPG player? Now, you see lots of discussions in those cesspits of Reddit and Facebook about how to be a good player. How can I make myself? How can I find a good group? What should I do to make the game good for my group? All that sort of stuff. And the advice I see in there is quite frequently what I believe to be nonsense, or less important. I think they focus on the wrong aspects. So, I mean, probably the most common one is be ready for your turn. Know the relevant rules. That sort of stuff, to me, shows a much too mechanical way to think about it. So, what do I believe makes a good player? I'm going to start. I've got 5 things written down here, and I would like Doof and DK to comment on them and give your input. And at the end of it, tell me what you think the most important thing of a good player is.
Right.
Yeah, and yeah, Rodrigo, don't be an a-hole. Yeah, that does sum it up. So, and partly my number 5 is be a team player. Lone wolves are tiresome. Most RPGs, I say most of them, D&D especially, most of them are team games, and the DM is part of the team.
Yes.
I have your agreement, DK.
Yes, unironically, inarguably, I hate the fact that so many people will pay lip service to the fact that the DM is not your enemy, and yet will not give credence that the DM is a player too. They're just playing in a different way, but they are a player, and it's completely disrespectful.
Really? I mean,
yeah,
I don't see that. Like the way I see it, the referee or GM should be completely neutral with anything. So your dungeon master would be more of a tool. Like he is your eyes in the world.
But he's still running NPCs.
He's not on your team.
I don't
Yeah,
know
but
if he's on your team, but he is part of the team who are playing.
on a meta level,
and
on a meta
on a
level,
meta
yeah,
level, yes.
yeah.
I'm saying
So
be a team at the table. Don't be
Hmm.
yourself at the table. Be a team. The team is more important than the individual.
exactly, yeah.
Yes,
I get what you. I get.
a team needs strong individuals with different skills, but the whole team at the table is more important than any one player. And I believe the DM is the most important member of that team, the most important player at the table, because without the DM, the whole thing will fall apart.
Yep. Yeah, obviously you can't have regular players without you can't have a DM can't run a game without the players, but like he could just find another group. The players literally cannot conceive of the game without the DM. It's just not possible.
Precisely. And it is beautifully summed up by Mr. Sunshine here.
Yeah. Oh God, man. That's sad. It breaks my heart. It really does.
It's gonna sound harsh of me, but this DM friend does need to grow a pair here. And assert control, because the DM should be in charge. This is one of the problems we've got in the current gaming environment, in that there are a lot of people who are saying that DM is there to provide a service. And I've seen people say this quite unironically, that as far as they're concerned, the DM is providing a service to the players. And it is so frustrating to see that. Everybody is there to provide a service for everybody else, as well as everybody is important.
You got anything to add, Doof?
Not really.
So I'm not being very controversial.
I will say there's an example that I will give where a player, and this is after 2 sessions where I ran my first OSR style game, where she said to me, blank face, where I said, look, I said we were having conflicts on how I was going to run games. And I said, you want me to run games I don't want to run, and you don't want to play in the games I want to run. So we're at an impasse here. Can we compromise here? And she said to me with a straight face, me coming to your table is me compromising. I'm like,
bye.
Yeah, and I haven't. Yeah. Not only have I not played with that person since, I have not been friends with them since. That is how bad that got. It just dissolved an entire friendship, and I'm like, no, gone, bye.
Quite right. Yeah,
it's not fair, but
I mean, is it really worth losing a friend over? But if a friend's going to do that, then you've got to question their attitude in other aspects of that friendship. Yeah. So I think we're all in agreement with that. I don't think there's any controversy about that one at all. So let's move on to this. Is what I have as the 4th most important one. Be consistent and never push the DM into using the veto, because conflict within the group is unhealthy. Now, the reason I've got this is because obviously we can all have a bad day at work and turn up at the table in a bad mood and whatever. And I would suggest in that situation, if you can't separate the outside influences on your life and just get on with the game, then it might be better off not actually playing that night. Because as a DM, what I want to see is the players approach the game in a consistent manner, consistent for their character as well, so that I can then create things in the game. And okay, players are always going to be unpredictable, but I want to be able to predict what the players will want to engage with. And if someone comes up to having had a bad day and goes, "No, I'm not interested in that. No, I'll just kill him," when that character's been being played as being all a go-getter, then it doesn't help me as DM. So consistent, and this is why I do like alignment in this sense, because alignment can guide a player's consistency. It can guide a DM's consistency in the world, but sometimes if you're not sure how your character would react, glance at your sheet, see that it says lawful neutral. Okay, I'm going to be strict and play it by the book. Let that sort of thing guide you. Be consistent in playing the character, because I don't want someone who's playing lawful good one session to suddenly play chaotic evil the next session and then just claim, oh, I'm just true neutral. That's not. It's impossible to win a game for.
Yeah.
Any disagreements?
Yeah. Like I can understand that sometimes it is hard to divorce, and I can be sympathetic. It's like, okay, like if it was that bad, where it's obviously that someone is distressed by something. If you're to just let them vent, usually I just let them talk. Like that's why I often, when my games start, we often bullshit for a half an hour to an hour before we start the game, and extend the game an hour after when I usually end it. Because sometimes you just need to talk, and that's what that's there for. So I wouldn't say don't show up, but just if my advice to people like that who do behave this way when they have a bad day, just if you're comfortable enough with your group and you know the group well enough, like you've been playing a long time, and they are willing to listen to you and not dunk on you or be douchebags, just talk to them. And 9 times out of 10, that resolves most of the problems you have. That's how I would handle it. That's how grown-ups should handle it. Just talk. If you have a problem, if it's a problem between like inter-party boundaries, like you're having a problem with a specific player, just talk to them.
We got here from Halakar. D&D teaches so many real life skills, but that's referring to my first point about be a team player. One of the more important is boundaries. This includes respect for each other and yourself. It's what something I am going to come to towards the end is all the me sort of aspect of certain things that are happening at the moment, and I'm going to do that after we've talked through these 5 points. But so I've just made a little note of that one.
What were you going to say, Duke?
Just how it's kind of like the GM's job to be a host. It's also the player's duty to be enjoyable to play with.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. A gracious host and a gracious guest. That's how it should be.
Exactly.
And that does translate into playing a character consistently to give the in terms of not just the outside the atmosphere in the game group, but in terms of the actual game world itself, so that you're playing a character consistently. Your focus is on the game. Anyway, I'm gonna move on here.
Even to loop it back to your point about why alignment can help people consistent. There's a reason why people often say he's being lawful stupid or being neutral stupid or being chaotic stupid. There's a reason why, because they're not behaving within the boundaries of the alignments. Typically, they're just being an asshole. Yeah.
Okay. My third one is engage with the DM's world. Put your own stamp on it as a player, but do it in a way that feels organic. Respect the material and respect the input of fellow players. This is, I've seen it written so many times that it is people saying, oh, it's the DM's job to find out what to incorporate your character and your character's story into the world. And my answer to that is no. It's the player's job to make sure that their character fits in the DM's world. Now, it's not to say it's not a two-way thing, but the player should not make demands on the DM. It's the DM's job to frame and describe the world and what is expected, and the player's job is to create something that is engaging and compelling within the boundaries of what the DM sets out. And by all means, discuss these sort of things out of the game or before the game, or have a chat after the game and talk about the sort of things you'd like to see, but don't make demands.
Yeah, because believe it or not, in that same game, that same player before that was said, they had criticized the fact that NPCs weren't telling them about the area that they were in. And I was like, well, I didn't think of it at the time. And it's like, well, you're the DM. You're supposed to know everything. Like, oh, really? Okay, well, did you ask? Maybe they didn't know. Yeah, but the NPCs are supposed to be the mouth of the dungeon master. No, they're not. No, they're not. That's not.
It's the other way around. The dungeon master is the mouth of the NPCs, and each of the NPCs are doing what they would do in the world. Yeah.
It's not like that they're omnipotent and know everything that I know. That's not how that works at all. And you never bothered to ask them anything about these bandits. Like I think they felt it was railroading them on a quest, and I was like, you never stopped to think you didn't have to take the quest. It was just some people on the side of the road. You could have ignored them, but you didn't. You just assumed that you had to do it. Well, maybe just don't do that.
Yeah, I'm going to throw up
Shrug.
Any input on that one, Do? If you were muted and disappeared for a bit, did you hear?
Oh yeah, I was getting some water.
Right, okay. I'm going to add Graham to the stream now. If you remember, so there's going to be 4 of us. Hello, Graham.
Hello.
Hi, John. How you doing?
All right. Graham's been playing in a West Marches campaign over on Discord. How did it go?
It went well. I don't have to roll up a new character this time, so save me some time.
We played in a game last night, and I am quite proud. We've started a West Marches game. Lots of people playing, lots of characters, and I'm quite proud to say that my character was the first casualty of the entire campaign last night. After exactly 61 minutes of play, my character died. So I then took control. I then took control of 2 NPCs. Within 14 more minutes, both NPCs were dead. So all 3 characters I'd been rolling dice for were dead within the first hour and a quarter of this entire campaign starting.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Hey, you lasted...
Huh?
You lasted longer in that game than your first lasted in mine, so, I mean...
my wife told me afterwards I must be bad at D&D.
No, because in all honesty, the fact that you only had 1 PC die means you're good at D&D.
Well, to be honest, half the group died. Both the hired helps died, and 3 of the 6 PCs died in that group.
Oh, God.
Graham's being the last of the 3 PCs to
Maybe I should have brought that Elven Cleric. Maybe I should have played.
Maybe. Right. I don't know if Graham's heard any of what we've been talking about so far. We are talking about what makes a good player. And my fifth on my list was be a team player. Number 4 was be consistent. And number 3 was engage with the DM's material.
Right.
Any thoughts on any of those?
I would say on engage, you don't have to engage with the material all the time. You can stray off the beaten path on occasion, but it's like
as long as it stays within the tone of the game as set out by the DM.
Yeah. Like if you haven't set up like a heist type scenario and the thief wants to go scouting to start heisting, that's still within the bounds of the setting. You can still do that, but if you start like making meta jokes and start playing like a gonzo character, then you're like, okay, you're being a bit disruptive here. Let's rein this back in.
It's things like, for example, I'm running a horror game and you're playing a character who is like something out of Marvel. It's not going to work.
Nope.
No, it's not going to work.
You'll be dead in like 5 minutes. You'll be dead in like 5 minutes.
Before we move on to numbers 2 and 3, I'm going to put practices on here. 1, be on time. I'm quite bad at that, I'm afraid. 2, turn off your effing cell phone. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Trow rhymes with cow, or you can go burn your source books. It certainly does rhyme with cow. Yes, yes. And 4, know how to play your class race alignment.
Mm.
Yeah, you need to know the basics. I like them to know how to play their race and their alignment more than their class almost, but not. I mean, okay, know how to play your class race alignment in the sense of the world, not necessarily in the sense of the mechanics. I'm not overly fussed knowing about the mechanics. But yeah, my own timekeeping is poor, I'm afraid. It comes with being someone who does everything at the last minute. And Munchy Getcho says, I've never had that much strife in a campaign before. I've been lucky, I guess. I've only really had 2 bad experiences, which I will come to afterwards, and which have helped me sort of work out what I want and what I don't want in games. Yeah. When I began as a D&D player, I was excited and carried away with attempting to hog the spotlight. Self-awareness and enabling other players to have their moments too helped me become a better player. Yeah. I'm not, as a DM, I don't think I'm that great at managing to balance it between all the players when I'm playing online. But at the table, I'm very conscious making sure people are I tend to walk around a lot, stand up a lot, and try and get the players to respond. If I think somebody is hogging the spotlight, I will try and turn the attention to somebody else as much as possible, and try and bounce it around and share it around. I find it quite difficult to do online because everyone's voices can sometimes mush into one, but certainly I think the DM has a role to play here in terms of spotlight sharing. Yeah. Anyway, number 2 I've got here, and this is a bit of a modern one, especially in terms of online games. Find out about the game before signing up to it. That means know a little bit enough about the rule set, about the tone, and about the expectations. Don't agree to play a game with the intention of changing it.
Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, first of all, it's a little bit like the earlier point about know your class, know your character, because if you're in an attack, you're not going to have too much. Basically, you're not going to have too much time to look at exactly how your character works at that point. And the other point about being careful about what game you sign up for. You're not going to want to steer the plot off track too much, especially if it's something that some preparation has gone into that already.
I mean, one slightly controversial field that this point sort of leads into is that whole thing about consent and the X card type thing. Indeed. I can understand the purpose of them at a convention, but as far as I'm concerned, if a game is labeled as a horror game and you go in there and you clutch your X card ready to use it, then I would not want you at my table.
Yeah,
what is an X card? Sorry,
it's you. You go for it, Giga.
It's something that is in the last couple of years it's come to the fore, and I can understand at conventions where people don't all know each other, but the idea is every player has this card with an X on it, and if the content of the game is straying into areas that they don't like, they hold up this card to say stop.
Ah, okay. So that I suppose that's another way of doing that, and I think this has probably come into the game fairly recently as well. Is for people to make lists of what you know,
Yes.
and
The
you know,
concept checklists. Yes.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
fucking what was it? The guy who did a third edition, was it Monty Cook or someone else? I think it was Jonathan Tweed or someone like that. Where like, oh, if you're afraid of spiders, just tick this off, and the DM can, or starvation or dehydration and all this other stupid stuff. It was like, ugh. It was dumb.
I mean, I will spell things out when I start a game. Generally, I mean, if I'm playing with people who are familiar with the expected tone of AD&D, I will run a traditional AD&D game. I'm not going to try and push nasty boundaries and try and shock in an AD&D game. I'm just going to try and run it very, very traditionally. That's what I think AD&D is good at. But if I advertise a game of Call of Cthulhu, for example, then I'm afraid everything's on the table. And if you tell me that you're scared of spiders, there are going to be big spiders in that game, and they're going to play a major part. Because that is the point.
I was playing in a 5e game, and the DM asked me, "Hey, what's because it's more of a gothic horror style game. Where what are you afraid of? Like, what would be your fear?" And I was thinking, well, heights wouldn't make. So I told him I watched the Grudge films when I was younger, and to this day it still freaks me out. And he put that into the game. He even posted an image of it in the Discord that we're in, and I loved it. I was like, that's so cool. I hate it, but at the same time, it's like it gets me more invested, because when I see that thing and I know what it's capable of, it's gonna fucking try to kill me, you know. And I would actually feel more upset if they didn't put things that terrified me in a gothic horror setting. I'd be more upset. But
isn't part of the point of playing? Part of the point of playing a horror game is to
be scared.
To be unnerved. It's hard to scare people when playing an RPG, in my opinion. But you can certainly unnerve them. You can make them tense, and that's key to it.
Yes, Doof, the S word. Yes, the S word. I know.
I think if your DM's going to survey the players or ask them questions before the game, it's probably better to go with the positive and ask them, you know, what kind of adventures you find are intriguing. You know, what is going to be a challenge for you, not too easy, not too difficult. And then they will be dropping clues into what, you know, the things that they find interesting. It's going to be probably a more engaging game.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you're gaming with friends, that you tend to know what they like. It's a little more difficult online, and certainly if you go to a convention, then you've got to be quite generic and be a bit careful about it, because you have no idea who's going to sit at your table. When you're gaming with friends, you pick up on these sort of things. And I mean, I guess this point is because I have started playing a lot more games online. This whole thing about finding up about the game before signing up. I joined all your Discord servers a good week or two before I decided to sign up, because I just wanted to get a feel for what you were all like, and I wanted to know. And when I realised that you're all argumentative fools like me, then I thought, I'll fit in quite well here. It's working okay.
Argumentative RPG players? No.
We never argue. Okay. Before I come to my number one, I'm going to go through a few comments again. I will have to appoint somebody as a mod at some point to do these comments for me, because I'm crap at doing them. Sometimes peer pressure can help bring somebody in line. Yes. Though you do get some very obstinate players who end up having to be forcibly kicked or brought in line. We had a theatre major in our college that would kidnap a game. Good on him that he was able to tone it down and react to it in the end. Sometimes it does sometimes people don't know when they're being annoying. It's the ones who are being intentionally annoying that you've got to watch out for. Find a good group and DM with gaming ideals similar to yours. Yes, in the ideal world, we'd all be able to do that straight away. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of gatekeeping is a good thing. You can be the best quarterback in the world, but if no one at the table can catch you, suck. All goes back to it being a team game.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I am, for my sins, a Philadelphia Eagles fan, and when Carson Wentz was a good quarterback, most of his receivers were rubbish, and then he became rubbish, and now there we go. You have to play off each other's strengths and weaknesses. Yes, that's about. You've got to learn your group. All right. Oh, you've used the B word. The B word. Oh no! Here we go.
No. I'm going to restrain myself. I'm going to restrain myself.
I mean,
no.
It kind of depends on what game you are running, because some games do require more lengthy and in-depth backstories.
Yeah.
Okay. I will give the caveat: if your backstory can't fit onto a one of those cards, those little like note cards, those little an index card, and on an index card, no, just no. I don't want it on my table. If it's 4 paragraphs, you fucked up. It should be 4 lines. 4 lines. That's it. I was born here. I did this. These are my family. This is why I'm adventuring. Done.
I mean, that's good for a game like D&D when you're basically off the farm when you start adventuring. But if you look at something like Savage Worlds or Call of Cthulhu, it's assumed that your character has some background.
I would even argue that in Call of Cthulhu, it's even less relevant because at least in D&D, it's implied that you're going to become heroic. So it at least helps to know where you come from. In Cthulhu, you're ordinary people, and you're probably going to die or go insane in like 30 minutes. I would say it's even less important.
Going into specifics, like nitty-gritty things, is unnecessary most of the time. But you should, in those games, your backstory should still be around 3 sentences. A paragraph should be enough. It depends on the group and game.
I have made a note at the bottom of my sheet to come to this point in a bit. So yes, it's going to come. We're going to have this sort of discussion after I've come to my number 1 point. But I'm going to go through the rest of the ones first. See, Omen Owl has just redeemed himself here and a player needs to work with the DM to follow the story laid out. Yes, in a story-based game, yes, the player has to be willing to work with the DM. Yeah, that is absolutely.
Yep.
And I know DK doesn't like the S word, doesn't like the story word. As far as I'm concerned,
okay.
The story is what unfolds at the table.
Yes.
And whether it is laid out or whether it is a sandbox where it emerges through everyone's choices and how the dice land, the story emerges at the table, but the players do need to work with the DM's material.
I have laxed on the S word. It's more so the narrative. When people say narrative or plot, that's when I get because story. You could say, oh, is it before backstory or is it story after? Like, is it after story? Like story that comes from choice? Then like, oh, okay, that's fine. But if they say narrative or plot, now that's very different. That's a constructed story, and that's where you lose me. Because I don't want to play in a railroad. I've been in too many of them, and they are boring.
Knowingly going into a horror game with an X card is like jumping into a war game and asking not to be attacked. Absolutely correct. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my FPS has all this shooting in it. Oh no!
The X card is okay if it specifically deals with certain issues, but if players and GM should agree players and GM should agree what is acceptable within reason. Yeah, within reason. I think all reasonable people are going to object to a graphic rape being carried out, and if the DM goes into detail and clearly enjoys it.
Yeah,
that's. I do say to my players, I am not there to watch you get all red-faced and sweaty and over describing some stupid fantasy or fetish. And if you keep doing that sort of thing, I'll be like, no. I don't rule out adult content, but I like to fade it to black.
Yeah,
I don't. It's like, yes, if your fighter wants to hire a lady of the night, he's more than welcome to do it. But we're not going to talk about what they get up to that evening. If you're playing 5e and you want to make a performance check to see how good you feel about yourself in the morning, yes, do that by all means. That's a bit of fun, but we're not going to go into the graphic detail.
No. Yeah, the curtain falls, and we leave that. If you must imagine it, keep it to yourself.
Yeah,
that shit don't belong at the table. Yeah, and
you'd have those same standards if you were talking to somebody about something else outside of D&D. So why bring that into
exactly
D&D? And it's kind of a cheap way to create drama or tension. A good story writer wouldn't, usually there are exceptions.
And the X card it's a replacement for common sense. It makes me wonder, where has common sense gone?
I don't know. I don't know.
Though I will say one of my favorite Call of Cthulhu adventures does have the possibility of child death in it.
I mean,
but again, in horror.
Yeah, I play Dark Albion, and that's medieval. That's medieval as it gets, man. I don't know if you know about the Middle Ages, but children died a lot in the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Well, that would be like saying I'm going to read a history book or a book about a war, and I'm going to raise my X card every time something comes up. You wouldn't get very far.
Yeah, every time the Yorkists lose, you raise the X card. That's not how I wanted it to go.
I did. Yeah, I have seen people say it was a Twitter thing. When the DM says your character is dead, say no, I don't consent to that. So I was like, what?
Anyway. God. I'd love to hear that. Like if the Grim Reaper shows up, I don't consent to dying. Like, I don't care.
I think John Schwartz here is he probably made this comment before I went into my ramble, but yes, I don't want to roleplay somebody's kinks.
Nope.
No, thank you. Especially not a fat, sweaty nerd. Sorry. And death to backstories. Backstories should not include one. We're going to come to backstories in a bit. Let's have a little look further down. The chat is starting to get busier, which is good.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Complicated backstories have been ruined by cheaty players. They use a long backstory as a tool to sneak bullshit into the game, hoping that you, the DM, will skim the backstory and not catch their bullshit. If I get given a complicated backstory, it doesn't get read. It'll just get handed back. Anyway, before we go into any more down here, I'm going to go on to my single most important point as far as I'm concerned. Right. When I start to DM a game, there's one thing that I expect the players to do, and that is to trust me. That's it. Trust me
Yeah.
to run a game that is fair and that I hope you will enjoy. That is it. And to me, that is the single most important thing a player should have towards a DM. Trust. If you don't trust your DM, you are a poor player. It is as simple as that. If the DM, if you go into a game and your default setting is I don't trust the DM, then you're a poor player. Simple as that. If your DM does something to destroy your trust, fair enough. But the vast majority of DMs won't. The vast majority of DMs just want the players to have a good time, and they want to enjoy the game as well. I once read, and this is in reference to another thread I read, and I said that, and this one person replied, and she said, "I have trust issues. I played a game with a bad DM once, and now I can't trust any of them." And my reply to that was, yeah, then I'm afraid you are the problem. And she hated that. She absolutely hated that. But for me, that's the single most important thing. If you, if the DM, if the players trust the DM, you're off to a good start. If the players do not trust the DM, then that game is absolutely doomed from the very beginning. There were players in there saying, "No, the DM has to build trust. You don't." And I'm like, no. You have to give the DM that respect and that trust from the very start.
Yeah,
that is the default, and I'm adamant about that. I'm 100% adamant about that. If I have a problem with the DM as a player, I will tell them outside of the game. But I will start a game thinking, right, okay, I want to see what this DM is doing. Let him go. Let them go. And I trust the DM to create the world. I trust the DM to use whatever mechanics they want to make the game enjoyable. I trust the game to make it fair and enjoyable. I'm not even that bothered about fairness, to be honest. As long as everyone gets treated roughly equally. I don't mind having my characters die. Yes, do. Three of them last night. Don't care. Did I ever feel victimized? No, I didn't feel victimized at all. But okay, here we go. What are signs that players do not trust the DM? Behaviors that outline a lack of trust.
Rules lawyering, unironically.
Rules lawyering is one. But for me, and this is one of the things I will say, when I start a game, I say to the players, I trust you. And this was a 5th edition game I did this with. There's one rule at my table, is that I don't have a great deal of time to get everything prepared. We're running something that I've pre-prepared from a while back. And I have a simple rule here that you are not to create characters that are going to try and break the game. I'm going to try and I'm here to run a fair game for you. I want you to be fair with me. Don't look for rules loopholes. Don't look for ways of rules lawyering things, because all you're going to do is waste my time. I'm not here to waste your time. I don't want you to waste mine. And there was one player there who really pushed back against that. And I come back. I now think that player just didn't trust me to win a game. We could never have got on.
I usually subscribe to the notion that the DM is God. I would give them a higher respect. The DM is almost like, to get like psychological and maybe a bit Jungian here, but it's like the DM is like a father, and you have to show respect to the father of the game. You don't disrespect him in front of the other children in the game. You adhere to his rules. You obviously give him feedback and tell him when something is wrong, but you never show him up, and you always trust him. Now, if the trust is broken, it's done. You leave that father and you never trust him again. And that's how I think and that's how it was back a couple of years ago. I think maybe that's why there's a lack of respect for it. To get all sociological. The lack of fathers is a lack of trust for DMs. I don't know. Just a little observation.
And this comment here, that particular player I'm on about argued the toss about everything. But yes, when he didn't get his own way, he tried to pull the game off the rails for everybody. It wasn't just to mess with me. It was because he was petulant. He tried to pull the game off the rails to mess with everybody. I will describe that one in a bit. But anyone got any input on the Doof? What do you think about trust?
Trust? I think expectations and everything related should be laid out, even like as you're starting the game.
Yeah.
That way you're avoiding any kind of miscommunications and the need for anything like an X card.
Yeah. If you trust that, if the players trust the DM, you won't need anything like that. You shouldn't need anything like that. And equally, the DM should trust the players to have signed up, have joined the game in good faith, and to be playing in good faith. Graham, are you on board with this? I don't.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Obviously, everyone understands that trust has to be built, but that works both ways. Obviously, it's easier in a group that have been playing for some time, but the same sort of principle can apply to one shots, and I think by and large, as I've come back to the game fairly recently, for the people I've worked with, there's been no real problem. So I would say the community is in pretty good nick. But there's always exceptions, and everyone's got stories where things didn't work out. I mean, that previous lady, it is a shame when somebody tries D&D and has a bad experience and says, well, I don't, this is not for me, and that is a shame, because you're not giving other DMs and other players chance. But I'm sure that does happen. People drop out of the game after having these kinds of experiences, but hopefully it is it's the exception rather than the norm.
It is. I mean, yeah. I mean, I would say it's the exception. I mean, I would like to. I mean, we all pretty much play the game with each other on the same server. Most of the people on that server have gone into that server for the same sort of reason, in that we are looking for games that avoid a lot of the politics of today's D&D. I hate to use the word community, but it's riddled with it, and we've generally gone there because we just want to play no nonsense games without any of that ridiculousness. And so we're probably playing with a lot of people who come into it with the same sort of mindset from the off. Obviously, we're not all identical. We like different games, we like different systems, but I think we understand that we're all coming from the same initial viewpoint.
Yeah.
So each of you, I mean, I'm going to start with DK. What do you think the single most important aspect of being a good player is?
What do I think is the most important aspect?
Most important aspect, yeah.
Go into the game with the expectation that you will have fun. I'm not even joking. If you go into the game wanting to have fun, 9 times out of 10 you will have fun. If you go into it in a bad mood, and not going and saying, I'm not going to enjoy this, then you will definitely not enjoy it. It will be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Everyone else at the table will feel it, the DM will notice it, and you will bring down the mood of everyone else at the game. You're not just making it bad for you, you're making it bad for everyone else. No matter how good your poker face is, when you're angry, people will sense it. And it's not just for the other people, it's for you. You play games to have fun. Just have fun. That's all that matters. At the end of the day, go in having fun, and everything else that you said, Geek, will happen. The trust will be built, the timekeeping will be built, the rules will be followed. Everything will fall into place if you go in wanting to have fun.
And I would say go into the game and trust the DM to make the game enjoyable.
Yes.
And as a DM, trust the players to enjoy it. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you there. Doof, what's your number one? You're silent,
Doof,
Doof.
you're muted. You're muted. You're muted,
sorry.
man.
Yeah. I hopped into the stream thinking that we were going to talk about what makes a skillful player, but I had a lot of notes on that pre-written. But one of the quote-unquote pillars of a skillful player would be to be a good host, which includes everything you guys have already said. Come to have it like it's a game. We're all there to have a good time. Like, I think having coming in, I think you worded it way better, DK.
I don't know. It's years of rambling has taught me some level of rhetorical skill. It's all good, man.
And Graham, your number one.
I would say understand the game, not as in the fine details of the rules, but understand, have some idea of especially the basics of the rules, but try and understand the ethos of the game and a little bit about the history of it. I think I think everyone gets the basic principles, basic ideas, but just try and understand the ethos of the game really, and I think the issue between skills and being a better player, not having more skills doesn't mean it's going to be the better player. And I kind of found this when I was rolling up new characters when I came back. Some of the characters with poorer abilities, it does mean you have to think more, and it's kind of a good type of challenge to put a character with average abilities, through a few adventures. It's more of a challenge in a good way.
Correct. I mean, it is a sad thing that generally affects newer, younger players, where they do like to be powerful at everything, but quite often, those weaker characters do teach you a lot about what the game is really about. I firmly agree with that.
I have considered running my home group through something BX, because that is something I think they all come from a 5e background, and that is something they are having a hard time to grasp. Just the fundamentals of the game, the problem solving, the looking around, asking questions, this whole play style that you find in OSR games. Has kind of gone over their heads.
I think if you've got a character sheet that's full of abilities and bonuses, it's kind of inevitable that players are going to try and rely more on those abilities. But look at look at what is not written down on a character sheet, like imagination and innovation. These are so hard to quantify that nobody really does, and that's part of the magic of the game, I think.
Yeah, because like one of the examples when I was playing in Aaron's OSC West March game, he wasn't DMing the session. I don't know who was. I think it was Shield, but like he set up this frog statue trap, and I had a weapon that let me X-ray, and I saw that inside the belly of the statue was a lever, and so I thought, oh, that's great. We'll go in, pull the lever, and then I thought I stopped myself for a second. I realized, wait a minute. If I pull that lever, the second I pull it, that mouth's going to strap shut, and I'm going to be stuck in there. So I said, oh, I have rope. So I made a noose or a slip knot, dropped it in, hooked it around, and pulled it. And sure enough, as soon as I pulled the lever, the mouth snapped shut. As soon as I did that, and I was so proud of myself when I figured that out. If I'd been playing in a 5e game, I'd have just dived in there, no problem, realized I got stuck, and teleported out of there with like a misty step or something, and it wouldn't have been a big deal. There's something that's lost when you have magic or abilities that solve all your problems for you. When you don't have that kind of mindset where you just, I prepared this beforehand, and because I prepared it, I feel a lot smarter, rather than, oh, I had a spell prepped, and I burnt a resource that never runs out. Great. Whoopee.
A certain 5th edition cantrip by the name of Mage Hand, for example.
Or light. Man.
Or light.
Oh.
Yes.
And in ways, they made light way more powerful and yet really debuffed it. Because it used to be an offensive spell. And now that they made it unlimited, they had to nerf it. And that's sad, because that spell was cool. That was a cleric's saving grace. If you picked light over Cure Light Wounds as a first level cleric, you were, what are you doing? What are you doing? Pick light, for God's sake.
Okay, let's have a look at some more of these. Great use of X card. I love my pet rat. Don't make me kill rats. I don't want to kill beagles either. Right. Okay. If we're playing a horror game, you won't just be killing rats. Your character may have to survive by eating them. How do you react to that?
Or you might get a mania where you get pleasure in torturing it. That could happen.
Can't this kind of thing be kind of disrespectful to the GM? Like, this kind of thing should be talked about before you start playing. What if he's prepared a whole scenario around the like idea of eating rats to survive? Like, his
survival horror
useless.
One of the problems with this sort of laying things out beforehand is the game is about surprises. And if you know doesn't it kill the surprise element if the DM has to check with the player, with players if certain things are allowable?
It should be the other way around. The player should talk with the referee in this case, saying, "Hey, this would really bother me."
Yeah,
but still, it's lame.
and here, and let's just no. We're gonna shoot this whole X card argument in the like shoot it dead, because nobody who was legitimately scared of these things is using. I defy you to tell me that there are actual people other than moral busybodies and control freaks and sociopaths who will use this to browbeat more malleable people at the table into submission because they're assholes. I defy anyone. No, these people don't care about the game, and they just want to be callous, chaotic, evil douchebags in real life and ruin everyone else's fun because daddy didn't give them enough attention when they were younger. Fuck that.
Well, I'd like to say, DK, during that rant, we went up from 14 people watching the stream to 17. So I don't know what you've just done, but you've pulled 3 people in.
Yes!
Bromos has listed, and we've just lost one. So that's it's obviously me talking that puts people off. Bromos just said, fun energy, attentiveness, helpfulness, open-minded, brings snacks. Now, number 5 on there, one of my groups used to pile the table high with snacks, and they seem to do it and take great pleasure in it. When I had a judo tournament coming up, and I had to try and make 10, and I had to try and make 11 stone 6, and they'd be there getting through piles of Doritos and fish and chips and cookies and whatever they wanted, and I'd just be sort of sat there drooling, going, "You kids."
That is the opposite of what I would do. I'd be like, "This is a cheat day. You're a DM, and you're putting up with my nonsense. Here's a roll of cookies. You earned it."
Right, let's have a little look at them. Glowing Turtle has popped in and said, "Currently, my players are in a large port city. Need some ideas for random encounters." We weren't talking about random encounters, but I will say that there is a good section in the first edition Dungeon Master's Guide on random town encounters, including a specific table which taught me all the words for prostitute in the English language. When I was 12 years old.
A few pages before that, there's about on what happens when you get drunk and how you get drunk. Yeah. And the diseases tables. Oh, it's great. It's glorious. Gygax, you thought of everything, my friend. You thought of everything.
If you need ideas for random encounters, all you need is a first edition Dungeon Master's Guide and a little bit of flexibility and imagination, and off you go.
Do you know what I love about those? The fact Gygax invented these rules as his players were playing. So that means that this happened consistently enough that he had to put a table in the game. Like, I want to know how often did this happen? Like, what were his players getting up to? That's what I want to know.
Maybe they needed X cards in those days. Right. We appear to have lost Tooth.
No.
Yeah, he kind of saluted and left.
Well.
I'm going to have to leave in a minute as well. But glad I could join for a bit, and thanks for the discussion.
Yeah.
No worries. Cheers, Graham.
Graham. Thanks for putting up with my rant. Bye.
That's all right. No problem.
We've only been going for an hour. We've already gained and lost 2 people. Right. Let's see this on. Let's see how chat is going on. Glowing Turtle currently DMing basic fantasy with advantage disadvantage home rules. Look, of all the mechanics in 5th edition, advantage and disadvantage is one that I like because it just makes the game go faster. I know there are people who think it oversimplifies things, but I do like it. It just roll 2 dice instead of 1, pick the best one. It's just,
and you know what? When I was playing 5e, it was the best thing. So I will thank Pundit for that one because he's the reason that got put in. He was the one who pushed it. So thank you, good sir. Yeah, I may not always use it, and I've even toyed around with using it in my old school games. In all honesty, I think it's good.
Yeah,
I think it's fine. It may not suit all things, but even Venger uses it in Chult, and I think that's great. I think it's a good system.
Being on something I did want to. I mean, chatting about it midstream might not get out to the people who but some people have commented that about, because I am doing that series of videos on trying to fix 5th edition, and there's a reason for me doing that. In that, I have explained in one of my videos why I'm using 5th edition to run games, and obviously I am from a 1st edition background, and there's a lot of 5th edition that doesn't sit right with me, but it is a fact that when you're playing online, having a very, very simple way of resolving things using just 1 type of dice for most things, it does help the game go a lot more quickly. And when I run 1st edition, I like my players to play very imaginatively, and I tend to find that quite often if a player really understands the intricacies of a game and all the mechanics, they start to think more mechanically. So I like to run 1st edition. I like to run it with what I call 1st edition newbies, because they are just like, there's so few skills and powers on the sheet that they look to the environment to work things out. And so I don't want to teach them how I resolve everything. But of course, when that translates to playing online, it becomes very, very difficult, very, very clumsy. So that is why I'm trying to get 5th edition to work for my old school brain, so that I can get online games running smoothly for a group of players who don't really get all the mechanics of 1st edition, but I don't want them to get all the mechanics of 1st edition.
No.
At the table, I can deal with that, but online it just makes things very clumsy.
At the end of the day, go ahead.
And then I'm probably going to do 3 more videos on fixing 5th edition.
Nice.
I'm halfway through, but I'm going to try and balance it out with old school stuff as well. So
Yeah.
if for those who are sort of saying, oh, why are we doing 5th edition? That's why. That is why. It's not the 5th edition is not the enemy.
No, it's not.
I don't think an addition of the game. I think there are issues with the creators. I think there are issues with quite a lot of people who play 5th edition and quite a lot of people who worship 5th edition. Those are the issues. But as a core system, for resolving things in a game, it is fine. It has issues. It is fine. And there are aspects that are decent within it.
Yeah, I will say that if you just look at the core rulebook, it's fine. It's like a solid 5 to. I'll be very generous. The most generous I go is 7 out of 10. In overall, I would say it's a 5.5, 6 out of 10 game. It's fine, serviceable. It's fun. After that, then it starts going downhill. But the main problem, the absolute bane of 5th edition, is not the mechanics. It is the culture. It is the culture that has been fostered by the company and by certain influencers and even by the players themselves. It has morphed from its original intent, and that is the problem. That's why Tasha's became a thing. The culture influenced the game, not the other way around, and that's the problem. That's why I wouldn't even say you shouldn't. That was your main fault. You called it fixing, and the whole joke of you can't fix her. What you should have said, this is how you old schoolify or improve 5th edition. This is how you bring it back to the old school. That's what you should have called it.
I'm fixing it. I'm mending it.
Yeah, I know, but it's the whole rhetorical thing. Like it's a battle of words, and you're trying to convince people of this sort of thing. Optics are a thing, and that's you're not technically wrong. You're logical, but some people will get you on the rhetoric.
Yeah. Yeah.
As any lawyer or any politician will tell you.
All right, there's a lot more chat about the X cards. I think we have covered X cards enough.
Yeah,
let's jump forward to. I'm just going to. This is a long comment. I haven't read it yet. Let's see what it says. Mr. Sunshine says, testing my impartiality as a DM is a min-maxed halfling bard who acts like an opportunistic salesman. Best play at my table, but his PC tests my patience and makes me yearn to vaporize the bard.
Vaporize the bard. Based.
Yeah, vaporize the bard.
That should just be that should be your starting position with any bard. And then once they start playing, you lax on that. But never forget that is the standard position you take with bards.
Bards can be fine. Bards can.
Yeah, no, they can. Yeah, It's largely just the players. I have no problem with the powers. Like only 5e bards are overpowered. Old school 1e bards are not that powerful. They just aren't. They're pretty piddly, to be honest.
Like Peter's brisket. Yeah. It's no good when you need to lose weight for a judo tournament. But I would quite be happy to nice piece of brisket. Doof went to bed. That's where he went. He is in Sweden, by the way, so he's an hour or two ahead of where we are here, which means it's probably past midnight where he is. It looks like Mr. Sunshine has the same biases as you do about bards.
But their player feels like a blight upon the story because of my biases. I just have my biases are because the bards aren't historically accurate. I know that's weird to say, but I have hang-ups, folks.
So I'm going to come to the whole sort of backstory thing in a bit, but I'm just going to say hello to David, who is one of my supporter is the wrong sort of word, but he's been watching my videos and he's been constructive comments. And if you ever want to come onto one of the streams, David, the work you've done on your blog is very, very in depth, well worth checking out. I'd love to hear how you go about doing it. So, David, you're more than welcome to come and talk about that whenever you want.
He's come. Yeah, you go ahead. We'll get to his in a sec. But it's just
so yes, if a character doesn't work in my game, I ask the player to create a different one. This is partly what caused one of my issues with the problem player I mentioned earlier. Something else I'll talk to in a bit, but yeah, you should do. Omanal gets it here. So this is, and if you've watched my last video, I've banned races.
Yeah.
Not all of them. I know I do. I'm quite strict about which classes are which. Yeah. I'm not as strict as some people would be, but as long as I think the class, the ethos of a class fits within the world and how I want the race to be portrayed, then it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It is. It's the people It's the people that are the problem.
Eric, I press X, man. If 5e was so bad, and I've been playing games since I was 6, I would not still be playing D&D. It's what got me into the hobby. If it was that bad, I wouldn't be playing D&D at all. It's like, I'm sure if I played 4th edition, I would have given up on D&D altogether. Unironically, yeah.
But for me, I think 5th edition doesn't need much fixing at low levels. Where the fixing needs to come is it needs to have an impact around levels 4, 5, 6, 7 to make those the sweet spot again, as they were in the old school, and to keep the game playing for longer at that sweet spot. And I think the game falls apart around level 9 or 10, and the solution to that is to simply stop playing at that level. And I firmly agree with what Daniel says here. For me, I try to keep that imaginativeness from players, but only using dice when needed. Let the players describe what they do in terms of the fiction, and then decide if dice rolls are needed. Too many people like to roll dice too often.
Oh yeah, as a big shame on my part, when I started playing 5e, I would constantly I make a perception check every chance I got. I became the roll perception check guy. It became a running joke until I stopped doing it. And I can laugh at myself. I laugh at myself because it was a fault, but you grow out of it. And
in my game, I'm in charge of your perception, I'm afraid.
Yep, I don't blame you. I literally tell you, the only time I will ever call for perception checks in certain games is if there's a chance you can miss something. And that's it. And only certain things like on encounters or secret doors, and that's it. I tell you what you see in your room, and that's it. That's it. So, if I'm the DM anyway.
Yeah, I mean, David says here, all systems have issues. Yes, they do. Yep. And that's why the perfect game for anybody, my perfect game is different to your perfect game, it's different to David's perfect game, it's different to Obenal's perfect game. And all games are a bit of a compromise, and all DMs, in my opinion, should tweak and adjust to how it makes them and their players have the best.
I just forgot to mention this earlier. Like you were saying, there was a sweet spot of do you know, I firmly, because Tim Kask pointed this out in an interview he did, where they would constantly say, when we got to 10th level, we retired our characters. Because I firmly believe that's the best D&D is. You get to 10 and you start again. Any level beyond 10, that's when the game starts breaking apart. I firmly believe the optimal way to play D&D, at least to me, big caveat, is levels 1 to 10. That's the most fun.
Some of the best AD&D adventures were high-level adventures. But the level of challenge in those was just astronomical compared to what
it's ridiculous
seen as a challenge nowadays. And quite rightly.
It's like the the Tarask isn't anywhere near a fair fight. That thing is insane. And it's only insane because players get so goddamn powerful. It's...
Halakar, if you're still listening, have a safe journey home. And
Bye.
Mr. Sunshine, all DMs have a little bit of an evil streak in them. Yes.
No, because you're bringing in the good, neutral, and evil alignments, DM, and I don't like them. All DMs are lawful.
Oh, we all have a little
All
bit
are
of
lawful.
Yeah.
I did make that joke where I'm a player, I'm lawful good. If I'm a DM, I'm lawful evil. But we are lawful because we are fair, or at least we should be.
Right. Anyway, something that was brought up earlier, and I think it was Oman Owl that brought it up, was the idea of the backstory. The backstory. Now, there are people who do say, "Oh, make sure you've got a good backstory." Okay. For me, and I don't know if this will get people. If this triggers you, pull out your X card, and I'll feel free to ignore it. Backstories are the height of selfishness. There we go. I've said it. Backstories make the game about me. I have no problem with a player writing a backstory. I'm not going to read it. If you want me to know a few bits and bobs, interesting bits and bobs about your character, jot them down in little note form and make it no more than a paragraph, probably 4 or 5 bullet points. My character likes this. My character wants to do this. My character has this person who's important, and my character hates this person. There we go. That's enough.
Yeah.
It might even be too much sometimes, but that is enough. I want to learn about your character and what your character likes and what your character dislikes and who they know through how you act at the table, through what you do in the game.
Yeah.
And then I will try and use those aspects of your character I will try and build those into the world somehow. I might forget some of them. Some of them I might not find some of them interesting. But if I find what you're doing interesting, then I will put that in the world somewhere.
Yeah. I was going to say to build on. Go for it.
But importantly, whatever you put on that little bit of paper, please make it relevant to the world I've created.
I would actually expand upon it being selfish. Here's the other thing. A lot of people say it's self-indulgent and it makes you this. It hogs the spotlight and stuff like that. It makes it about me. Here's another way that it does that, because you're depriving other players of the catharsis of wanting to empathize with your character. If it's all in your backstory, they haven't experienced it with you. Yeah, it's all about you. Because when you make a rival as you play, and the players see you either win or fail, they feel the loss of your failures and are exhilarated by your victory because they've experienced it with you.
Yes.
And that's it loops back to it being a team game. It's all about the team.
Let's use the S word that you hate. The only important story is the one that emerges at the table.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Emergent storytelling is king. It just makes things more interesting. You do some weird stuff emerges from gameplay.
Yeah.
Shield in my game, a person from Aaron's Discord, for those who don't know, we're playing in medieval London, and he took a keg of gunpowder, and detonated it in London City in the middle of political tensions between two royal families or branches of the royal family, while there's a militia of one of the branches of the family outside London. How is that going to look? Like,
it's going to change. It's going to change history.
yeah, like the War of the Roses, because this is the time period, could actually hasten. And conveniently, I'm starting a new campaign where they're going to Frogland, and that might also change history. So that I love that ability where your choices matter. That's what I love about it. When you do this backstory stuff, you've already made all the cool decisions beforehand and you've shackled yourself. In fact, you're actually depriving yourself of more meaningful choices because you've shackled yourself to this thing that you've done beforehand that you might not even like anymore.
I mean, I find if a player wants to write a backstory and wants to refer for themselves, to use it sometimes as a bit of a crutch to refer to remind themselves, yes, fine, do that sort of thing, and to give yourself reminders, that does show engagement, and engagement is good. But I don't want that background to be presented to me in a form of, this is my character, this is what has happened. I'm sorry. What happens before the game is largely irrelevant. It's largely irrelevant. All I want to know is why you're here. There you go. And most of the time you can answer that in one sentence.
Yeah. I can break it down based on class. Your fighter is there because he had to pay off. There was too many mouths to feed, and he needed to pay his family. The cleric is there because he's there for his faith to kill the enemies of his church. The thief is there to pay off debts from the thieves guild, and the magic user has to pay off his student tuition debts that he racked up in college. There, done. There's motivation. Boom. Simple.
Yeah. I mean, I played a bard, and his background was that he'd been a bit of a swindler, and somebody he had swindled had basically lost his life savings as a result and committed suicide. And I was trying to get money to
pay the family back. Yeah,
pay the family back. And
yeah.
one paragraph, couple of sentences. There you go. That was enough.
Yeah.
And I didn't put any names in there. Didn't do anything. I didn't say how it had all happened. It was if they want to make a thing of it, they can. If they don't want to make a thing of it, it didn't matter. But love of OSR is a dialogue between DM and player. Fewer roles, descriptive questions, incite deeper answers. Yes. Also, PCs need to die. Yeah, otherwise, I know it's fit no fit. Yeah, as I've already said, I played two NPCs in my character last night, and 75 minutes into the game, they were all dead.
Yeah.
And this, what I think Robbie here has basically said, plain and simple, a backstory can immediately limit your future relationships with other characters in the world before you even sit down at the table. Yes.
Yep.
You are
that's more of an expanding on what I said, Robbie. Yep. You've said it better than I could have. Good on you.
And Daniel says, I mean, this is one of the things I do like about 5th edition. The way you don't need to write a big backstory when you've got trait, ideal, bond, flaw, and one sentence in each. That can define everything. And I like that aspect of 5th edition. I like the fact that in one of the manuals, you've got these lists and you can expand on them. You can alter them. You can put whatever you want in that little box. And that is enough. Something for you to refer to. What you like, what do you want to achieve, who you're tied to, what are your problems. One sentence in each. There you go. And you can make all manner of characters out of that. All manner of characters. Rodrigo says, instead of backstories, I ask my players to answer some questions so I can have a general feel of their characters. I like them to come to the table and, certainly a face-to-face game, and roleplay for half an hour to an hour. And I'll sit there and make that.
Yes. The only time I will ever excuse it is in a game like Lords of Olympus, where you get a questionnaire to determine your divine lineage. And that's very important because of how the family of Olympus is set up, because that's an incredibly political family. It's very important that you know who your parents are, because that will determine which gods are your friends and which ones are your enemies. You know, and that's the only time I will ever accept it, because that it needs in order for the setting to work. But other than that, it's all like 1-sentence answers to 30 questions, and that's it. And you don't even have to use them all. That's it. So.
So Mr. Sunshine says, I love 5e, critiquing it, discussing it, trying to improve it. Well, I will say I don't love 5th edition, but I am able to enjoy it. I do like critiquing it. I do like discussing it, and I am enjoying trying to improve it. I place it firmly in the middle in the history of D&D, above 3rd and 4th and 3.5, but below all of the others. When people say just play Pathfinder, that immediately singles out that player as someone I don't want to play with, because that means they're obsessed with the mechanics.
Yeah, no, it's like it's the whole, like, the reason why Pathfinders, like, my criticism of 5e is a common one. 5e, where the optional rules are mandatory and the mandatory rules are optional. That is a major critique of how, but that again is a cultural thing. But still, it's incentivized by how the game is structured, and that needs to be addressed. So.
For me, the weakest points of 5e are the bits they pulled out of 3rd and 4th.
Yeah. Yeah. The 2e stuff, from what I see from 2e and 1e that I've read, are the strongest parts. They're the strongest.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Everything else is garbage. I don't like it. Cantrips need to die. Cantrips need to die.
I think I'll do spells and magic as my next.
Yeah, do please, dear God, and rework the revival spells, please, for the love of God.
Some of them don't exist.
Good.
That's my idea of working them. David, Fawkes.
Yep. I saw the U, and I was like, okay.
And his first name was Guido, I believe. It's known as
Really? Oh, I didn't actually know that. Good folks. SP moment. I don't know what that's a reference to.
Oh, that was your blowing up the big shield in his big explosion.
Oh yeah. They've one other player said, remember the 5th of November. Unironically, I was like, yeah. Oh God, this is gonna be so bad. Oh boy. Ugh.
I never begin to understand my character beyond their stats until they get thrown into situations with their newfound compatriots. Yes, that's exactly.
Yeah, you were a delight to play with, Robbie. I can attest. Your method works. I've played with you. It works.
I mean, I have to admit, in the DCC game I'm playing with you at the moment, DK, I don't understand my character at all because you've just changed him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He got a +1 half plate cursed, +1 half plate of teen angst. He shifted from neutral to chaotic, and is now a Black Veil Brides fan and has goth makeup and everything. And it's great. I kind of hoped that when I had that curse implemented, that you would discard. I was like, yes, I got rid of it. And you've leaned into it. And I'm like, oh no, I love this even more. The fact that you're rolling with it has made it even better, and I do not regret giving it to you. I don't care. It's great.
Simple fact is, I am a fan of the Sisters of Mercy, so I'm going to lean into it.
Okay, I'll have to listen to Sisters of Mercy then.
Yes, you do. And Joy Division.
Nice. I'll check them out.
A lot more comments now about backstories. Yeah, a character should not have a deep backstory when they start. Correct, Omanel. Practice. Backstory fits on a 3x5 card plus what happens from 1st to 5th level. Exactly. Yes. Everybody in chat is getting it.
Yeah, but Bromo says you can look at backstories like alignment. Some games use them and some games don't use them.
Okay, we're going back now down to my point 2 of the players thing. Find out about the game before signing up. If the game, and this is what I would do here, if the DM says, please write a backstory, blah, 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 I'll be like, okay, that game's not for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's DM James said something similar. He's like, oh yeah, this guy knows what he's doing. He's got this great world and everything, and player choice. He's like, oh, that's great. And then the DM says to him, oh, I'm going to need about a 3-page backstory. I'm out. I'm out.
Nothing.
Nah. The most backstory I've ever written was the first character I ever played, a half-elf paladin, and it was 1 page long, and it was in bullet points, and that's it. And that's the most I've done, and I'm still disgusted with it, and I've never done it that long ever again. Ever.
And James gets it here. I like backstories to be fluid and grow through the campaign. Yes, exactly. Exactly. If you do something amazing during the game, just improvise there and then about why it happened.
Yeah, it's great. That's what makes the game fun. Or an aspect of it anyway.
Yeah. Omanel, I have reworked cantrips a little, mainly because in 5th edition I don't want wizardy types going pew 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 every round. At least at low levels.
I don't. You go for it.
I want level 1 to 5 casting classes to have to fall back on weapons from time to time. I think that is key. I want them to run out of spells. I want them to worry about when they use their spells. That is key to the choice making in a game. They should not always have magic at their disposal.
My main problem with them, and it comes down to the mindset. If you actually look at how people go on and on and on, like say the Eldritch Blast is the best cantrip in the game, and I'm sitting there thinking, no, it isn't. Firebolt is the best cantrip in the game, like damage one. Do you want to know why? Because most buildings in D&D are made of wood. Yeah, one wizard with an unlimited source of fire could literally hold an entire town ransom.
That's why. That's why in the, and this is the over specificity of the 5th edition rules, where they say this spell affects 1 creature. It's to stop them using fire spells to set light to everything.
Yeah, I forgot that it's, but you know that there would be a DM who would say that that's dumb because it can light objects on fire. So all they have to do is target someone next to something flammable, and the entire building goes up in flames.
For me, I try and going back to common sense. I try and approach a bit of common sense. If it is a bale of hay and you cast a fireball at it, then yes, it will incinerate. If it is a tree, if it is a living tree with lots of sap, cast fireball at it, you will singe the leaves. The trunk is not going to set fire because that is a flash of fire. But but a house with dead wood in it and it has like a thatch roofing on it and maybe some other oil in it, that's gonna go up like a barn house. Like that's what I'm saying, because the players are focused on the mechanics. They're not thinking like, imagine saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna walk in with cantrip and start burning down the houses. Like how? Because it's a fire spell. Duh. Or even produce flame. Produce flame can hit things. Okay, what's everyone's take on favorite alignment to play in DM? Now, I know DK likes the simple, lawful, neutral, and chaotic alignments. I like the 9 alignments. I'll tell you now, the ones I don't like, I find neutral good very bland. I don't like chaotic evil because it's normally idiots who play it.
Yeah.
Pretty much okay with all. Neutral is difficult.
Yeah.
My favorite alignments to play, I like chaotic good. I like the idea of the independent sort of freedom fighter with a good heart. And equally, I also like lawful neutral. The over officious, we must plan. We must do this the right way according to the law. I
would. Okay. My main contention with the good, neutral, and evil spec, it's just a quick thing, is that they have baggage and people will argue on and on and on about what is good, neutral, and evil. But law, neutral, and chaos are inarguable. They're set and concrete, or at least it's harder to argue them. It's much harder to argue, because they're far more concrete in what they mean, right? But my favorite, if we're going to go with the 9-prong alignments, my favorite alignments, I think, are neutral good, because I like the kind of Spider-Man approach to, if you're doing the good, I think neutral good is the purest form of good that exists.
It's meant to be.
It
Yes,
is
yes,
good.
it is.
It is good. Even though I like lawful good, and you appreciate a lawful good, that comes close second. They are still, in the way most D&D games come, they are bound by a stricture that can harm the good that they do. Neutral goods don't do this. And then my other ones are lawful evil. I love playing lawful evil characters, because although they do capricious things, because like I can be like cartoonly evil, but I'm bound by a rigorous code that I must follow. And yeah, I have an ethos. Yeah, I have an ethos. I will lie, cheat, and steal. I will backstab and betray. But if it's not, as long as it's within the bounds of my code of conduct, I will follow it. I played a lawful evil tiefling once who was born in the Nine Hells, and he had made no bones about. Now he changed to neutral good later on because bad things happened where he had to mend his ways. But up until that point, he was like flaunting his wealth. He just was buying and selling souls and everything. It was great. Like his sister showed up for attacking the party and to bring him back to hell as an NPC. And I literally, as a player, said, "Later, bitches," and just hopped through the portal. I didn't care because that's what he would have done.
I mean, there is a video I want to do on alignments and how I approach things at one point, and there is a scenario of one character of each type of alignment walks past a beggar outside a pub. How do they all react to the beggar? And for me, what the lawful evil would do is walk up to the beggar with a copper coin in his hand, make a big thing about pressing this copper coin into the beggar's hand, do it very loudly, very openly, so that everybody sees it. Everybody sees it, but it's only a copper coin. And lawful evil is doing it for status. He's doing.
I would say actually the thing a lawful evil. I would even go one step further. A lawful evil person who maybe had done a bit of digging on this particular beggar and knows maybe they're like a drug addict or something, would give them a handful of coins to a drug addict. He's really his daemon patron, like he's like bound to the Nine Hells, who happens to sell really dank kush, and just he's just up the corner. Good day to you, and just walks off. That's a lawful evil character. He didn't tell him to do it. But he just said, "Hey, just bye."
It's all about gaining something for yourself.
Yes.
In the structure of society, lawful evil is.
Yes, very much so. Yes.
Where a lawful neutral, how the lawful neutral would react would be entirely dependent on whether begging is legal or not.
Yeah, absolutely. If vagrancy isn't illegal, he'll just ignore them. If it's illegal, he'll get out his truncheon, do a Judge Dredd impersonation, and just beat the shit out of them.
Or he might go to the council the next day and say, "We've got beggars on our streets. We need to sort that out."
And they'll be like, "Of course there are beggars on the street. What do you expect? But it's against the law." Yeah, we know, but we're kind of busy right now. And lawful. I think the neutral good would probably do the best thing of handing him food. That's what a neutral good would do.
Yes.
Yes. Because unironically, that's the best thing you can do for them. It's not money.
Whereas the lawful good
never give them.
Lawful good would give them food and then go to the council the next day and talk about the fact that there's beggars on the street.
Yeah. Or maybe even bring him to a sermon about how he can better himself if he comes to Christ. No, it's a lawful good. He would bring them to church, and there's a soup kitchen, whereas the neutral good would just give them the food on the spot.
Whereas the chaotic good would say, "Come to the pub with me."
Oh God, no!
Dinner and I'll be drunk.
He'd steal money. No, he'd steal money, give it to him, and then they'd both go drinking.
Yes.
Yeah. Good natured. The thought was what counted. The thought. That's how I view chaos. When it's at its absolute best, it's like the thought. It's the thought that counts. That's the best you could say about them. Most of the time, it's like you just shake your head, like, "What the fuck were you thinking?"
All right, let's go back. Let's go back to the comments anyway.
Ah,
In my game, when players cast Revivify to bring somebody back, they get a dramatic cutscene where they have to explain to a questioning angel of death from the god of the afterlife why they want a soul. Oh, I quite like that. I've just got rid of Revivify in my game, but yeah, I could quite get
I'm not against like bringing people back, but they gotta earn it. They need to find an artifact to bring them back, or, and a more insidious way to do it is have a devil just show up and just say, "Hey, you know what? I can bring your friend back. The heavens owe us a favor because we fight the demons. You know, we could just bring your friend back. Just sign on the dotted line, and you have your friend back." Don't worry about. We'll work out the fine details later. But you really want your friend back, don't you? And that only works when you don't give them revivify spells. When that's the only way you can bring them back, you've got their balls in a vice. If they really want that player back, and the alternative is fight a deadly monster, that might just be a tantalizing way to bring the PC back.
Cantrips from 2E were much better. Yes, they were.
Because none of them were damaging, and they're very utilitarian. So
utilitarian, gentle, nice little effects.
Like unironically, I have seen builds online for 5e where you can make glass arrowheads that retain poison in them, and like it's insane. It's the most insane stuff you will imagine. How they will exploit even the utility spells. It's geek. I have been deep in the build culture. It is bad. It's so bad, man. I know.
Culture.
I know.
All right. Neutral good is for professors and seamstresses. Yes, seamstresses, but professors 20 years ago. Nowadays, no, I would not say professors these days.
I would even say professors like 60 or 70 years ago, man, because a lot of them have been bad apples from the start, man. But I would say neutral goods wouldn't. No, because I think a lot of superheroes are neutral good. A lot of them are. I would say the vast majority of them are. Because most superheroes are willing to compromise, but at their heart of hearts, they're good people. Like Spider-Man is neutral good.
Yeah,
he's as neutral good as it comes. So is Captain America. Yeah, so is Captain America. Because he will turn on America if it goes bad, if it means protecting the American people. He's neutral good.
Anyway, I blame Munchy Getcho for this because we did a whole stream on alignment, and now we've turned to
but we got nowhere in it to a degree, man, because we were kind of talking in circles and past each other, and I was guilty of it too, I'm more so than you two, but
we are coming towards the end of the comments. It looks like it's going to have been a shorter stream. I have got to talk about the two idiot players I dealt with that sort of have coloured my opinions on how players should act, so I'll do that briefly. But I'm going to make a note of this because I haven't read many of the magazines. I need to.
An article and diagram for the guy who invented it. I thought was Gygax not the guy who invented alignment. I thought it was him.
No. Anyway, right. Okay, so point 3 of all the ones I said. Point 5, be a team player. Point 4, causing group conflict. Point 3, engaging with the DM's world. This one player failed on all 3 of those. He found out about the game signing up, and he completely ignored it. At that time, we were a group of 4 people, late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s. We were playing a basic D&D with just 3 players. So you can imagine that round, we were all first level. So you can imagine we were doing very sort of low powered things, and we were surviving. We got through after got through half a dozen sessions, but
Right.
we needed more players in that group, and we were playing in a shop. So the shopkeeper was putting up little adverts for us.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it was very nice of him. And we had a few players turn up, and we called it our cursed fifth seat for a while. And this one particular player turned up, and he was a lot younger. He was probably about 20. And he sat down at the table. And we told him that we were playing basic D&D. He didn't really know much about it. And we said, okay. And he joined in, rolled up his character. And we told him what we were playing. We're generally lawful. I was a sage-like first-level magic user who was interested in gaining knowledge and that sort of thing. And he said straight away, I'm going to be a chaotic grave-robbing fighter.
Okay.
Now, looking back now, our DM should not have given him a chance from that moment onwards. But he did.
Yeah.
So we went on our little mission, and we were carefully plodding through this archaeological dig, looking for buried, lost treasures. And he was causing fights, and we were trying to avoid them. He was constantly trying to cause them all session, and his character was somehow surviving these fights. And we found the final location. And throughout the game, what he'd been doing, we'd been plotting and whatever, and he'd be saying, right, I'm going to do this. And then he'd give us this stare as if to say, I dare you to challenge me. But he'd be staring us over the table, almost saying like, I'm doing this. I don't care what the rest of you are doing. I'm daring you to stand up to me. And this was a young guy in his 20s. He was a big guy as well. And we all thought he was big. He was quite threatening. We're just gentle old nerds. And it came to this final boss fight. And the DM described this horrific, chilling room with these black tendrils coming out of a coffin and all that sort of stuff. We were like, oh, this is going to be trouble. And he's like, right, I draw my sword and I charge. Our reply was, we close the door and we walk away. And the DM ended the session there, and he was never invited back.
Good. Unironically, good.
And
You guys did nothing wrong.
apart from letting him play with us in the first place, that was
Well, no, that's hindsight. That's not doing something wrong. That's just making a mistake. There's a difference. You didn't know any better.
No. And the other one, the other one is a guy I know I've mentioned him on a stream before, but I filled in as a DM for a while in this group. I hadn't DM'd for them very much, and I was still really getting back into DMing at this point. And I said to all my players, I would. It's only going to be a short campaign. Could you all make characters that are generally good aligned and willing to help poor people? One of the players messaged me, I've got an idea for a chaotic evil paladin.
What edition was it?
5th. My reply was, no, I need you to play generally good guys. He rolled 4 or 5 sets of stats, didn't like any of them, kept deleting them on the forum, was called out on it, moaned that he'd got too low scores on his stats. His stats were fine, and he made himself a neutral good wizard.
Oh, you have talked about this. I remember this now.
He got a 6 or 7 wisdom, 6 or 7 charisma.
Oh no!
And he tried to. They were trying to find out information, and he said, why don't we just capture one of the kids in the town and torture them to giving us the information? And we were like, what? And I was like, well, I use my DM veto at this point. I was like, no, I've told you are playing good guys. We're not having that. You are playing good guys. You are going to help. He says, but I may be neutral good, but I've got really low wisdom and I'm not very likable, so I do this sort of thing. And he would not let it lie. And he's the guy. And I said no. And so he said from that moment onwards, he tried to disrupt the campaign. He was an unwilling adventurer. He'd sit down and strop, and eventually he got booted from the group. But
I can't imagine why.
yeah, exactly. And it was all because he couldn't get his own way. And that's that whole thing about disrespecting the DM and not engaging with the DM's game. He thought his own fun was more important, so he ended up having no fun. It's as simple as that.
Yeah,
but he caused a very sour feeling. Caused a very sour feeling to everybody else.
Yeah, but I would say, Mr. Sunshine, if you're still here, thank you very much for the stream. It was great. It was great having you, man.
Oh,
just in case
Mr.
you know,
Sunshine.
he basically, the way he's saying that is, thank you for the earnest, sincere engagement with the stream. This is nice and it's appreciated. So I don't know if he's leaving or not. It just in case he is.
Yeah. Well, no, great, Mr. Sunshine. Good to have you here. Good for the comments. I like that. I like people to engage. The old DM James has arrived.
He has. Lawful good and lawful evil are his favorite alignments. Though honestly, they're very good ones to have.
I'm not a fan of lawful good. I find it a little dull. I do like characters have a little bit of a dark side or a bit of a rebellious streak, but I can understand why people play it. Lawful evil, certainly, yeah. I mean, I like lawful neutrals, certainly with a few iffy tendencies. Yeah.
See, that's kind of why I like neutral goods. They're allowed to do more dubious stuff, but at the end of the day, they won't compromise on fundamental beliefs. You know.
Yeah.
So,
now, Mr. Sunshine here says cantrips. What about 8 to 10 cantrip slots per long rest? I will tell you now. My rule for cantrips in 5th edition is proficiency bonus plus level per short rest. So at first level, you have three cantrip slots per short rest.
That's an interest. That's not too far off what he's suggesting, to be honest.
Yeah. By the time you get to 5th or 6th level, you're going to have 8 or 9, but you're going to need them because combats are going to become more dangerous, and you may still have to reach for that sling or that bow that you've got hidden
somewhere,
kept away. Yeah.
You just pull it out from underneath your robes.
Yeah, but it makes the players think about using their spells.
Yeah, I just think my main problem with them is that they're damaging and they're unlimited. That's my main problem with them, because we're not Harry Potter. You know, this isn't like a young adult novel where magic just starts coming out of your fingertips. It doesn't mesh with D&D. It just doesn't work.
No.
So
superheroes don't play D&D.
I only well, actually you're wrong, because in the older versions of the game, fighters were called superheroes.
To this day, I would still like to run a high-level party through Descent into the Depths of the Earth and the Vault of the Drow. And those characters have to be 11, 12-ish to have a chance of surviving. I would love to see how that would play out. I've never run those.
I'd happily, if you're just running it as standalone with, pre-gen characters and stuff, I'd play through it, honestly.
We'll have to see. I don't tend to run those long modules with pre-gens. I'd rather have characters that the players really care about, because that changes the way people think about their approach to the adventure. And Omen Alhares, I like lawful evil villains. Yeah, they're the best ones.
Yes. Yeah.
They are the best ones.
I like the devils. To me, the devils in 5e were the coolest part of it. I hated the demons. They were one note and boring and stupid and just believed in entropy. The devils were far more interesting because they could be redeemed. It was very difficult. It was excruciatingly difficult, but it was possible. They were far more human, and I love them. They're awesome.
Omanal says he wants to have magic drain health. There are some. I mean, obviously, the wish spell has a detrimental effect. I did like in early editions how certain spells aged the caster, so that made them think. Haste, yes.
Haste. Oh God, the worst you'll get out of 5e is that you're lethargic for a turn. That's lame. That's so lame. If anything, it should stun you for I know D6 D6 like turns or something. Because you've hopped up on magical adrenaline, man, where you can do things that humans aren't supposed to do. So, like, could you imagine not being able to do something for 6 entire turns? You'd never cast the haste spell, ever.
No.
You'd never cast it. You'd get slaughtered when that minute goes out. You'd get absolutely annihilated.
Yeah, Daniel says alignment is an artifact from classic fantasy literature. I have heard of 3 hearts and 3 lions.
Yeah. Oh, that's me. Yeah.
I haven't read a lot of Appendix N, and sadly, I don't do a lot of reading anymore. Quite a lot of you know.
I would actually the fact that he's saying that it's an artifact, and I think that I might be misinterpreting it, Daniel, but the way you're sounding is like because it's old, it should be discarded. I actually disagree. I think the fact that it is old and proved the test of time should be something you should consider. Like look at the novel. Mythology is more important than novels because novel literally means new. It means like an untested, unproven thing. It's a novel concept. That's what that means. So I think saying something is old, therefore it should be abandoned, is an appeal to is basically the appeal to novelty, the opposite of appeal to tradition, right? It works because it's been proven. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but like I think that alignment is too important to discard. It's too important. Anyone who throws it away because they don't like it doesn't understand how alignment works. At least that's what in my experience anyway. But it's your game. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, DM James mentions here about one first level spell is 4. Yeah, I think it was 4 cantrips in an Earth Arcana.
I don't have an Earth. I've heard it was 3 though. I could be wrong, or maybe that's 2nd edition.
I like the idea that cantrips are a limited and gentle sort of resource in addition to those major spells. So I like some sort of balance in between. But yeah, I would prefer them not to be so damaging. I mean, if cantrips did 1d4 damage, I wouldn't have a real problem with them so much.
Yeah,
and they were limited as well. It's the fact that some of them do scale up a bit. Like
the only reason they scaled it is I firmly believe the fact that the fighter gets 4 attacks. That's the only reason why they scaled it. That's it. 4 dice, 4 attacks. Yeah.
4 attacks is too many.
Oh god, yeah. Well, I mean, 4 attacks if it was against weak opponents like in 1st edition, BX, and yeah, that's fine. That's perfect, and that's only with melee attacks. The fact that they can attack with any weapon 4 times, actually technically it's 8 times because of action surge. So 8 attacks in 6 seconds, no, that makes no sense.
Here's the thank you for Mr. Sunshine. Yes, thank you for taking part. Thank you for enjoying it.
Thank you, Mr. Sunshine.
I think I mentioned this in my last video. It's something I'm gonna look up. I never got Dragon Magazine being here in the UK. I couldn't afford getting a subscription, and my local shops didn't stock it or anything like that. So I've actually never seen a physical copy of a Dragon Magazine. So I do need to look these things up. I'm going to be doing a video on the art of Errol Otis at some point, and yes, there is a famous cover of his on one of the Dragon magazines. It's got to appear in there.
I mean, I honestly hate the fact that there are other types of paladins, because even in the Dragon magazine that shows the anti-paladin specifically says that the reason why you should not allow them is because the forces of good should have that silver bullet of the paladin in their back pocket. It's something they always have, because the forces of good should be of higher quality and less numerous, and the forces of evil should be weak but numerous.
I can see the merit in that. I can see the merit.
But I understand the whole people like playing the Dark Paladin, like the Darth Vader to Luke Skywalker. It's interesting, but that's what the Death Knight is for. If you want a high-level Knight style bad guy, get the Death Knight.
And that's where we bring into your favorite alignment of lawful evil, a fervent lawful evil. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Death Knights are my favorite undead, and undead's my favorite type of monster. Death Knights are awesome. I love them. Because imagine like having the scenario where the paladin finds a Death Knight. How epic would that be to have killed a Death Knight as a paladin? You know, you'd be remembered. You know.
I think this is the first comment that Search of the Unknown has made. Thank you for observing.
Hello.
Thank you for lurking. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I mean, as far as all of my reviews, this is why I'm quite particular in what I review. All of my reviews are coming from a position of having played the material, and I don't want to theory craft about what might be or what could be. Isn't it better to talk about your experience and what you've actually encountered? Because things on the page will very often not be the same as how they play out at the table.
Who would you rather listen to? Who would you rather listen to? A book about master craftsmanship or an actual master craftsman?
I wouldn't say we were master craftsmen.
I know, but you see what I mean. What would be more useful? Someone showing and explaining how the craft is done, or just reading it in a book? I know which one I'd rather do. You know,
and it's not all just about the craft of the mechanics. It's the craft of getting using it. Anyhow. But yeah, I mean, I put up a vote recently on what people want to see next, what you want me to review next. My reviews are very much limited on what I have played, and some people were asking in the comments for things I can't do, simply because they happened mainly during eras of D&D when I wasn't playing. So I do apologise for that. But I'm going to have to force some of the people I play with to play some different adventures so I can review them. I think that's a possibility. And Mr. Banana says he's not going.
Oh, sweet. I don't have the cantrip. They use cantrips as magic tricks for japes and jests. Tomfoolery and damassery do bug me. The PB plus level limitation sounds neat. Yeah.
The one cantrip I do really, really like is prestidigitation, because it's the sort of cantrip that is there for the imaginative.
Yes. Same with thaumaturgy and druidcraft. I love those cantrips.
Yeah. Yes.
But if I were to pick one damaging spell that I have a soft spot for, and it doesn't scale because it's technically a melee spell, it's called Shillelagh. I love Shillelagh. It turns any stick you have into a magic stick that does D8 damage plus your spellcasting modifier. It's a bonus action and lasts a minute. It's great. It's very simple, very useful. And that's how cantrips should be. Very simplistic and very limited.
Yes. System shock.
Oh, I thought it just aged you. Does it have system shock too?
Yeah. D8.
Oh, that is evil. That's evil, man.
The system shock is for anything that the body, anything sudden happens to the body, like sudden aging, and haste ages. Does haste doesn't age the caster; it ages the recipient.
The one who gets it. Yeah.
So that aging, the recipient gets the system shock. Yes.
Let me double check that. Let me see if I can find haste. You keep talking while I look.
I do keep seeing people mention Palladium's alignment system. I haven't checked out Palladium at all. I'm quite bad at that, but it's something I do need to have a look at.
44. Alignment. People say it's not important, and yet every time it's brought up, it brings up hour-long debates. It's like, alignment's not important. Press X to doubt. See here, magic user spells. Where's haste?
It's a third level spell in AD&D.
Yeah, it's Detect Magic, Feign Death, Gust of Wind, Lightning Bolt, Run to Summoning, Phantasmal Force, Protection from Evil. It's not there.
Haste should be. What book have you got there?
I've got the DMG of 1E, and I'm looking at the third level.
In the player's handbook.
Oh, right. Yeah, the explanation. My bad. Okay. Right. I'm learning. I'm sorry, folks. DK will get it soon. Encumbrance stuff.
Curious if you guys use positive reinforcement, like inspiration points or such in games. I like inspiration. I forget to give out inspiration points too often. But my idea with positive reinforcement, I give bonus XP, and I like my players to give me little hooks that I can develop items with them. I talked about again in my video the other day about the possibility of one of my characters multi-classing, and due to the events in the game, rather and allowing it because of what had happened to that character. And what it is, I'll go into a bit more detail, and I hope John, the player of this particular character, is playing gets to see this at some time. But he's playing Merrick, who is a fighter who hails from a barbarian tribe. He followed deity inspired by Gaelic mythology called Morrigan. And Morrigan has 3 aspects. None of those aspects are what you would call nice, because she is essentially a war goddess. She was in the original deities and demigods as an evil god, but not all of her aspects are evil, but they're not nice. There's obviously the difference. There's a lot of neutrality in her there as well. He follows the least nasty, but it's not a nice aspect as such. It's more to do with sort of fate and bravery and that sort of stuff and battle. And he was playing the character very much like he was chaotic neutral to start with, and he was playing it as an independent barbarian type fighter who didn't fear death. And last session, and he's got this his sword that he has named that is a family heirloom, and I've decided that sword is going to grow with the character because he puts so much into that aspect of the character. And because of the way his character acts towards undead and the idea of fate and death, that undead are working against fate, as it were, I thought, okay, I'll make the sword work against undead. So I gave it a little bonus against undead creatures. It glows in the presence of undead, and these as he gains levels, these aspects of the sword are slowly developing and appearing. And last session, he asked me if he could shift his alignment towards chaotic good, because he felt that his character is sort of becoming more of a good guy, but he's still independent. And I said, yes, that is absolutely fine. It's a small shift, and it does feel how you are now playing him. And he then said, okay, is there a possibility of a multi-class into paladin? And obviously in 5th edition, paladins can be chaotic good. Firstly, he didn't have the stats to do it, so that vetoed it, unfortunately, straight away.
Oh yeah, you talked about this. Yeah.
But also, there was the issue that the move from chaotic neutral to chaotic good would move away from the aspects of the deity. Morrigan is not good, and he has been playing. He is devout to the deity. In the Lost City, there are 3 factions, and they all follow absolutely zealously. They follow 3.
The maiden, the mother, and the crone. Yes,
those are the 3 that I've put in. None of those are Morrigan, and he will not join any of those factions. He has role played that loyalty to Morrigan to the hilt. He's staying utterly independent. So it's one of those, I was slightly torn on this whether to allow him, because he is pushing this cause so well. But I think we are in agreement that the shift to paladin would probably be a little
Not
bit,
make sense. Yeah.
not make
Uh,
total sense, but that's something I like from the player in this sense, that he is engaging with the material, he's engaging with not just the adventure we're playing, but the world in general, and he's playing the character consistently, and he's playing and the character is developing very nicely.
Yeah, and there could come a stage where there will be a conflict of interest between him and his god, where the god will ask him to do something that fundamentally now that he's become, we'll say, good, that he's gotten a soft spot for someone, and the god asks him to do something that's against his good nature, and he's like, I can't follow you, and he abandons his faith and takes up sword for another faith. You never know. But to the point of, yes, you were correct about the haste spell. The speeding up of the metabolism affects the recipient and not the caster. You are correct. But the caster can target himself, I believe. Just it doesn't automatically affect him. Yeah. But how I enforce good behavior? Well, I do something simple. When at the end of each session in my DCC game, everyone votes for the best role player, and that player gets an extra XP. That's it. And because the role play to me is reward in and of itself, but I do like to give a little something extra. But the only time I will only ever vote on the best role player is if it's a tie. That's the only time I'll do it.
Let's say the positive reinforcement he's getting is he's got this sword that is developing with him, and the power of the sword gained when that character gained 5th level. The character, the sword gained the power to grant him advantage on the Constitution save against the draining abilities of undead.
Nice. That's really cool.
It's suitably thematic. But it's not a game-breaking power. It's not like, it's an extra +1 or whatever. It isn't. No. But it's giving him more ability to fight his foes.
Yeah, and like it's those, like, my favorite magic item I've ever had ever. Right, I was in Aaron's game, and we saved it's a Minotaur, cursed Minotaur armor. If you put it on, it turns you into a Minotaur. It was a +1 plate that I converted it to I took it to my church, had it converted to my faith, and it became a +1 plate that once a day, if you prayed over it for a certain amount of time or bathed it in sunlight, because my guy worships the sun, it was able to cast a spell where you attack, the target saves versus spell, and they take 1d4 or 1d6 damage if they're creatures of chaos or hate sunlight, and they are blinded for d4 rounds. And I love that plate. It was my favorite armor ever. It was the best thing I ever had, and I used it every chance I had that cleric. Every chance I could do it, I would constantly say I have this ability, and I would save it for the most appropriate time. I love that fucking thing.
I would love it as well if you hadn't pronounced Minotaur the American way.
Minotaur. It's Minotaur. King Minos, man. It's King Minos. It's King Minos, my friend.
It's Minotaur. Minotaur. It's not Minotaur.
Sorry. It's easy to say Minotaur. But Minotaur. But yes, the crazy bull cannibal creature thing with a big axe.
Yes.
Yes. They're also great. I'd love to run a Greek style adventure. I really would. That would be so much fun. Imagine being like just fighting like the Minotaur. You know. There's only one. To me, there should be only one Medusa, one Minotaur. There should maybe a handful of the Ares' birds. I can't remember what they were called, but or the Nemean lion, the Hydra. That would be so cool. You were the ones who killed the Hydra. That'd be so cool. We don't do that because they're generic monsters and it sucks. I killed the Hydra. Yeah, great. Yeah, this one has acid for blood so potent that if it breathes on you, you die. Yeah.
I will say, going back to the whole X card thing, I do run satyrs as the Greek version of them. So that's
satyrs.
No, satyrs.
I know, but it just sounds weird hearing it as satyrs.
It's a satyr, not a satyr.
I know.
But I run them as they were as the Greeks intended. So
yeah,
as
cowardly, rapey, drunkard douchebags. Yeah.
That's exactly what they were. Yes.
They were not. They were not good monsters. They were absolute. No. Centaurs were even worse. The only good one was Chiron. If you see a centaur, just kill it. Just fucking kill it. Their D&D does not accurate. They are not neutral good. They are chaotic evil. Or neutral. I would say neutral evil probably. They're probably neutral evil. They're not good. Just kill them. Kill them with fire.
Okay, so reading the above spell from a scroll or using a power from a ring or other device does not cause a natural aging. Placing such a spell. Yeah. And this is where we're into the nitty gritty of the rules.
Yeah. I would say it's a limited number of uses with the ring, and then it breaks because it's aging the ring. The ring is aging itself. There you go.
Munchie, I have no idea what a boanthrope is.
As a what?
No idea.
Wait. No, I think it's like a bovine lycanthrope. Like a person who transforms into a cow or cow-like creature, like a cow-human hybrid. No, I wouldn't do that. That's too antithetical to what a minotaur is. Yeah, they are savage monsters, and I treat them as such. They're just born as bull-headed humanoids that eat human flesh. I don't view them as like a type of lycanthropy, because by that metric, that would mean they'd have to be bitten by a cow. And now they're turned into a cow person? Huh? That's lame. Oh, I got bitten by a wolf. I got bitten by a bear. I got bitten by a cow. Now I'm literally a cowboy. Lame.
Looks like Munchie agrees with you because he has replied there. Good point.
Can't argue with it.
Robbie's talking about your armor here as well.
Yeah, he was there. He was in that session. I think it was great. It was awesome. I loved it. Ah, God, I love that game so much.
We got to the end of chat. We got to the end of it.
Hey.
Anybody want to ask a question, or do you want us to go away now?
And Aurochs not a cow. I don't get that.
Aurochs is a cow-like species. Big yak.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, okay, that's fair. Yeah, it would be a yak technically, but throughout the ages, it's been so changed that it's now a bull man. To be honest, but if we want to keep authentic, it would be a yak. Fine.
Would it be a yak?
An ox. It would probably be an ox. It would probably be an ox, actually. Now that I think about it, because I don't know if Greece had yaks at that time. No. Yaks are largely in like the Scandinavian countries and Germany and stuff like that, wouldn't they? At least I think.
Yaks were mostly Asian, sort of the Siberian.
Oh, yeah, that was it. Right. Yeah. But no, it would have been oxen. So that's not too far off from a bull.
I had a copy of Maze of the Riddling Minotaur. It was one of those magic pen type adventures where you revealed. It's a solo adventure where you had a magic pen and you revealed it. Yes, I had a copy of that. It was all right. It was a bit of fun. I didn't see any way of the character possibly completing it because the character would just die quickly. But
I'd love if Mazes and Minotaurs actually had a physical copy, because I have the PDF. I would love if they made that, honestly. Anything Greek, I will buy it. I've loved Greek myth. I play God of War, and I love Hercules, the Disney film. Ever since I was a kid, I love Greek myth. That is my Appendix N, unironically.
Yeah, so Omenal just confirmed. Aurochs are extinct now in.
Well, Well, wolves aren't extinct; they're just endangered. But I see your point.
Orcs are. Orcs are.
That's it is what it is. Evolution's not kind. Nature is a cruel mistress. So, let's see here.
Yes, the pen did run out of juice. If you do find a copy of it now, you have to find some way of failing them.
How do you get players to respect the threat represented by the dangerous monster of the world without killing a player? Does a stubbornly arrogant PC who respects no opponent deserve to die? Huh. Well, how I would do it is...
Oh, I hadn't seen that comment. I was
yeah. It's all good. I would treat it as like whenever it's brought up, like NPCs will talk about it like in rumors. And I would probably have some cultists who worship the creature and have the king or the lord of the region, maybe if you're high enough level, request that you deal with it. That's how I would do it. And that's honestly how the Minotaur was treated, because it's all complicated about the meta reasons behind the myth. But that's what happened, how Theseus got contracted to take care of it, because the Athenians were tired of sending 7 women and men to be slaughtered to this thing. They wanted it dead. So off came its head.
I'm a little more blunt with this in that I've had my first and second level parties run into huge ancient dragons before if they poked around too hard. And it is very much a case of the dragon feels they are so far above them, they will just flick them away with a finger and say, bother me again and I'll eat you. And that will be enough. That'll be enough usually.
Yeah. Like, I know I will do that.
You got to do that once and the party suddenly respect the world.
Yeah, like I will do stuff like that as well, but I'm just offering other ways I would do it, if it's, let's use like the Minotaur example. There might be like the Minotaur, and then like lesser versions of it, like its children. They're not quite the Minotaur, but they're like him. And they just start running around and attacking people, and maybe the PCs see what happens to these poor unfortunate souls. They get dragged off, they get eaten alive, and you see a powerful enough warrior just get slashed in half by this thing, and you're like, oh.
We played a. I've tried a number of times to run Middle Earth for my group and try the role playing game, and try and teach them that combat in that game is extremely deadly. And I did once have the big bad guy of a scenario turn up, and my party had already had a bit of a run-in with this guy who was a bit of a bully, and this big bad guy turned up and beat the bully to a pulp. And it was a case of... but what then happened was my players, they just didn't pick up on it straight away, and angered the big bad guy, and he killed one of them outright straight away.
Yeah,
they should have taken notice straight away. I will use as you said, it doesn't matter, use a bit of an expendable NPC.
Yeah, like honestly, but if your players are being belligerent and they're insisting, then it's time to tear up their character sheets and give them new ones.
Yeah.
Like if they're gonna pick fights with the Death Knight at first level, okay.
You let them make their choices, and there are ways to just sort of give them hints that this might be a bit too much.
Oh, obviously, but
foreshadow them a little bit.
And then to twist the knife, when they finally get strong enough to fight the Death Knight, every single boss leading up to that before then was the previous first level characters that the guy killed on that first time and raised them as some kind of undead, like a wight or a wraith or something like that. Just to say, now you got to kill them again.
Yeah.
Have fun. Oh, it's great.
And Omenal makes a decent point here that D&D has a lot more monsters, so it becomes species rather than unique. And
I
follows
know.
up with like a high magic setting makes it a lot less special. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
unfortunate, but it's the nature of running a game that goes
I know.
on for a long time. Unfortunately, things do become mundane. It is hard to keep that constant sense of wonder going.
Yeah, but that's kind of why I you'll have your mooks and stuff like that, but it's just unfortunate that they mookified the Medusa, and all these great one-off monsters and just treat them as generic bad guys, and it's just like they should be like one-off, like at the end of dungeons. It makes me sad.
Here you go, DK. Graham's got a hint for you. If you like your Greek stuff.
Yay!
In the Mystara
yeah, unfortunately,
setting.
I've been trying to find books that are Mystara, and I don't know where to look.
Right. In basic D&D, there was a series of gazetteers.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to Graham about this the other night, and
right.
I seem to remember it being Graham I was talking to.
Yeah, because that was in the module stream, I imagine. Yes.
And yes, it was, and yes, there are a number of gazetteers about different parts of the Mystara world, and they go into a lot of depth. They're not cheap to hold of nowadays. I'm not sure how easily available they are, but it might be worth a look if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah. I'm always looking for Greek stuff.
Graham was talking about it in the stream the other day. Yes, that's right. I have to apologize. My memory isn't always great, but yes,
it's all good, man.
Omenal says only need one TPK to get players to respect monsters, and the TPK is if that TPK is at first level, with fresh characters that they haven't grown to love too much yet. Back to backstories. That's why you don't write a big backstory. Then yes, when they make their second lot of characters, they will be a lot more careful. They will be.
Yeah, I mean, I remember one time when in Aaron's games where we got into the tail end of the session, right? And I was like, okay, we should try and smoke these kobolds out of this keep because they are harrowing us. So I figured we're gonna dump a bunch of these oil flasks down these vents to smoke them out and light them on fire. Light them fire, smoke them out, and we'll kill them as they come out. Problem was, there were carrion crawlers underneath the earth, and Aaron rolled to see if we disturbed them, and well, they did, and 2 PCs and 2 retainers got paralyzed, dragged underground, and eaten alive. I was a thief. It was a thief. Yeah, I was so close. Had I just walked to the keep, I would have lived.
DM James loves his print on demand, so yeah, he's the man. So yeah, the gazetteer,
and because he's an elite level DM. That's for you, James. You need to get on this stream, James. You really do.
Yeah, he's more than welcome. More than welcome to join if ever he wants to. So yeah, if DK, if you're interested in looking into the gazetteers and Mystara, print on demand.
Drive through. Nice. I know what my next purchase will be. Thank you, James.
Myth Draenor, I believe, was Forgotten Realms, wasn't it?
What was this?
Munchies. Anyone ever plumbed the depths of Myth Draenor? I believe those were the Forgotten Realms days.
I know nothing about Forgotten Realms. I've never really paid attention to it.
I don't know a lot, and I know more than I'd like.
I only paid attention for the devils, really, and some of the Blood War stuff, and that's only because it was for the cosmology. That's all I cared about.
I had the Forgotten Realms Adventures book.
Sword Coast.
No, it was late first edition. A late first edition hardback, I believe. Was it early second? Was it early second or was it late first? I think it was one of the two. But that was when the Forgotten Realms was unsullied by all the nonsense that has happened since, or all the books and certain Drow Ranger and all that sort of stuff. So
and they brought Dragonborn from 4th edition. Yeah,
all that stuff. So it was a perfectly pleasant book. But it was actually quite an inspiring book. The deities were interesting. I found it quite interesting to read, but it sadly went in the purge. When all my books went. So
that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, man. It happens, So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Mr. Welch. But the funniest thing I've ever seen. Now, Mr. Welch didn't make this video, but it's someone else doing a recording of things Mr. Welch is not allowed to do in RPGs, and it's like 3.5, 4 hours long, and it's some of the funniest stuff I've ever heard. It's like, what series of events led to you doing this sort of thing? It's like
I think I've seen bits of it. There was one really long video we did that I saw bits of.
But it's not him. It's not him It's someone else recording it. It's not him. Yeah, but it's still great. It's so dumb.
One of the reasons why I didn't dive into reviewing all the basic and expert stuff earlier on is because Mr. Welch has done it, and he's done it extremely well. People have said, "Oh, they want to hear my perspective on them as well," but they won't be any near the depth that he has, because I played basic and expert for a very short amount of time in comparison. He's dived into it really deeply, and his videos are good.
It's like his edition. I think from how he talks about it, it's like Bandit's Keep, that OD&D and BX are their editions, and they have fine taste, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I should focus on AD&D, play all of the AD&D modules, review them all, and make it my edition.
Yes,
we shall see.
Don't forget to include one-on-one time and patron play. Otherwise, you're not playing it as Gygax envisioned it.
Oh, don't start with all of that. No.
I know. I couldn't help myself. I'm tired and sick and delirious.
I don't claim to be an expert on everything AD&D, though. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and I like what I like. And
all I care about is, do you run it well? And from how you talk about it, you sound like you do. That's all I fucking care about.
You've not played in one of my games, though. You've not played in one of my games yet, though. I've played in one of your games, so you know how I play as a player. But you've not played in one of my games yet. So
I will change that for once the next session ends. I will. Or actually, no, your game is the next Saturday one. Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah, I'll have to play that.
I'd do so. You're welcome to join, and I believe we have Captain joining as well, who has not been able to make it into the stream tonight.
That's unfortunate.
He's not made it here, but he will be joining us. And there'll be a nice little twist with him being there. So
I'll have to make up that Ranger.
Yeah, do so. So I think we did peak at 22 people watching at one point, but they're starting to drop again as we're sort of petering out of things to say. For those who want to listen to the actual topic of what we were originally discussing, that was the first 45 minutes. We basically talked nonsense for the rest of it as we and just engage with the chat. And I have to say, very well done to Omen Owl and Munchy Gecko, who seem to have had the staying power to stay with us. Other people have come and gone, joined us late, but Omen Owl and Munchy Gecko, you've got the patience of saints by the looks of things, because you appear to have sat with us for the whole thing. But I think it is now 2 hours 33 minutes. I think it is now time to draw it to a close and say it is time for Betty Buys this side of the Atlantic. We are both on the eastern side of the Atlantic, and I know most of our viewers are now on the west.
Yeah.
So you all enjoy your evenings. Thank you to DK for joining in. Thank you to Doof for joining in earlier, who went to bed earlier, and thank you to Graham, who joined in and has come back into chat. I've been the Old Geek. I've been chatting to DK, Dark Knight of Hibernia. Thank you all, and good night.
Bye-bye.